X, I'm definitely late to my own live stream that I didn't warn anybody about or tell anyone about. So I will definitely have to get better at this. I'm kind of just winging it today. I had some technical difficulties in my last call. I know I had sent out a newsletter, and if you don't have my newsletter, you might want to sign up for that. It's very rare but awesome. And you can get that at SumerianAstrology.com. What else can we do? Let me see here. I don't know. Learn astrology. Is this the thing? Oh, there you go. Okay, so all my information's down there. Let me see here. What am I doing? We are going to take a look at the transits. I did this stuff like I was doing daily forecasts a long time ago. When was I doing them? Like 2.5 years ago. And I hated it. It sucked. But part of that was just because I wasn't good at live streaming. I'm still not good at live streaming, but I'm definitely better positioned to try it again. And I'm forcing myself to get uncomfortable here. So, because success lives on the other side of fear. Not that I'm afraid, but it's definitely not like this doesn't come super easy for me to do this, especially all by my lonesome. So I don't have Friar and Nikki here to help me out. But let me see here. What we got to do. We got to share the screen is what we're doing today. First, let me get rid of this over here. If you pop on here and you have any questions, either while it's live or even from before, I will eventually get to the comments once the video posts and everything. But if you're on here, I'll get to it too. And I have probably about an hour, I think, before my next call. So let me see here. I'm sharing the screen. That is what I'm doing. Stand by while I share. Yes. Okay. I do this all the time. You think I'd be a master of it by now? Present video. No, share the screen. That's what I want. Window. No. I want this. Why isn't it coming up? There it is. Okay. Wait. I gotta make it smaller. Hold on. Because I don't want to crash my video card like I did on the stream the other day. Hold on. Let me see here. Yes. Good. Yes. What is today? February 1st. It is February 1st. Okay. All right. Stellarium, go. Share. Is it sharing? It's sharing. Okay, it's sharing. All right, fantastic. All right, hopefully I won't crash myself right out of the studio. That is a very real possibility that could happen. All right, so today, and we go through this on the live streams every Wednesday is when we're here. So some of this will be new to you, but I know like last week I didn't give a forecast. I let Nikki do it. She was our very special guest. So if you are new to my channel, if you don't know, I do Sumerian astrology. It is the oldest form of astrology on Earth. It predates classical and Vedic astrology by at least 2,000 years, although there is evidence that some of this goes all the way back to the last end of the last ice age. I'm not going to get into that because that's basically its own subject and lecture. Let me see here what we got. Yeah, so this is Stellarium. You can download it for free at stellarium.org. This is planetarium software. It has nothing to do with astrology per se, at least not modern astrology as it's understood. And the reason that we use this is because we're doing sidereal astrology. That is looking at the literal placements of the planets in the constellations. It has nothing to do with the tropical zodiac, which is basically just nonsense. And I'm happy to have that debate with you. If you disagree, you can go ahead, put all of your angry comments in the comment section. I'm happy to respond with respect and love. Or you're welcome to come on and have a debate with us or myself or whoever, me and Nikki and Friar, and we will have that conversation. So right now, Mars is in Gemini. This is going to be going on for some time. It's been retrograde for a little while. It's going to be coming out in, what do we want to say, right around the end of this month is when it happens. I can probably get the exact date. I don't really care what the exact date is, and you probably shouldn't either, to be quite honest. Namely because This is an optical illusion. If you don't know, retrogrades have nothing to do with the change in the movement of the planet. It's all just based on our own perception, okay? I have found no statistical correlation between negative events and retrogrades, okay? And this is not just because in Mesopotamia, this also wasn't anything spooky or scary. It's basically just because it literally doesn't happen that way. Now, if you think that retrogrades are negative and bad stuff happens to you, we have one of two things going on. It could be that you are pre-programmed to believe that retrogrades are going to do something negative. It could also, and not through any fault of your own, it's just, you're told that throughout your life. Mercury retrograde in particular, super spooky and scary. So, you hear that stuff over and over again. And like any other placebo effect, you may come to believe it and start creating those, the self-fulfilling prophecy as time goes on. Or what could be happening is you have some old karmic stuff, okay? Whether you want to look at it in relation to past lives or just repeated patterns in this lifetime that you're not dealing with, those will come out sometimes during retrogrades. And that's your opportunity to deal with it. But retrogrades, when it relates to karma and past life experience, they do other things for us too. They bring out old skills, people from previous lives that were, if you don't want to look at it again in the sense of reincarnation, people from before who are here to help you. And it comes with just as much good, I would say more good than it does anything negative. But again, if you're not dealing with your stuff, you're not handling your business, you're burying all of your bullshit, so to speak, then the retrogrades can definitely come up and sneak up behind you, but it has nothing to do with them being inherently negative. Okay. In Mesopotamia, these were just wandering stars. They were they were the embodiment of the gods, and they could just, float around and do whatever they want because they were the gods. And, that was just their natural movement. So nothing spooky or horrible in there. But again, this is going to be right about the end of the month. Now I say, don't get super hung up on the dates because this is like a weather forecast, okay? You don't have a storm roll through and then you just have one particular lightning strike or one little burst of wind. It is a series of concurrent events and experiences. And we feel these things, these shifts in the planets long before they actually enter a sign, or depending on how slow the planet moves, obviously. But we feel these things in a window. So we have some time. I don't get super hung up on the dates. I don't think anybody else should. Now, can you technically, excuse me, I'm fighting off a cold here. Can you technically pinpoint dates of specific events? Yes, you can. But the amount of work that goes into doing that is astronomical and not really useful for most people. Okay. And also consider that there aren't planets for certain things. Okay. There's not a planet of death. All right. There's just not, it's not in there. I double dog dare you. I challenge you to try to find it. It's not in there. Okay. There's not a planet of marriage. Marriage is a combination of many different things. Some people's marriages are arranged. Some people's marriage happens when they meet and they never actually sign any documents. Sometimes it's just documents. There's no one planet for any one thing. So to try to pinpoint a specific date is a giant waste of your time. Okay. You just want to try to, if you have a time frame that you're working with, you're like, well, I want to get married, sometime in the summer. That's when you can go in and you can try to see, okay, like what's the moon phase? Where are the planets? What's the best time to actually get married or sign, enter into this contract, whatever it may be. And then you can use it that way. But otherwise, you don't want to try to get too hung up on the dates. I know that goes against everything you've probably ever heard, but I'm telling you, I'm a data person and I've tracked thousands of charts over the last few decades and it's just not there. All right. Unless you really dig down and you start to get crazy with it. As a matter of fact, you can predict, and we do, you can predict tiny little things that happen throughout your day. So you are constantly being triggered by these astrological fluctuations. And in order to see how they're impacting you, which can be done, you need to look at your individual chart and you need to look at the transits. And that's not something that you're going to find on YouTube or X or wherever. So I'm definitely derailing, but the moral of the story is astrology can predict some pretty particular things, but you need specific charts, and you can't do it just from like some general forecast like this. All right, so I'll shut up now. Mars, this was the god of war, death, and pestilence, and also the underworld. These two figures, Meshlamtai and Lugalira, as they were called, were just aspects of him. Okay, so this is basically Mars in one of his signs. I say one of his signs because in Mesopotamia, we don't have just one planetary ruler. We wouldn't even really call them planetary rulers. They're just associations, basically. So this is a really strong placement for him, but this is him in his brotherly love, guys. Okay. Gemini in Mesopotamia is probably the most empathic of all of the constellations. It really is about making family members out of friends. And I'm not talking about superficial family members. I'm talking about, or superficial friendships, like you get in some of the modern meanings of Gemini, which is based on an erroneous association with the air element, but that's a completely different conversation. It is, oh, I derailed. What was I talking about? Gemini, yes. Oh, it's about these deeper relationships that you build with people. So these two figures were called the Great Twins, but they were guarding the entrance to the other world. They were dressed like warriors, and we're looking at brothers in arms. Okay, so even if they aren't real brothers, and again, they were just versions of the same deity over here, we are looking at somebody who has built this really intense relationship with his brother, his fellow guardian or warrior, right? So this is all about those intense, deeper emotional relationships with other people. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Oftentimes it is, but it's just, you know, those people that you bring into your heart, and they become part of your tribe. So Mars's placement here. Now, Mars is a very sensitive planet. He is, without going into all of the mythology, of which we would be here all day because it's very detailed. But basically, on the outside, he is egotistical, hyper masculine, you know, just a total badass. But on the inside, he feels fear. He is afraid. He falls madly in love and enjoys this very passionate relationship with his consort. So he's very much like us. You know, he's got this surface version of himself that he portrays. And then he's got the inner stuff that he tries to hide. Okay. So here he becomes, in Gemini, he becomes very vulnerable and open to some of this deeper intimacy. So the entire time Mars is in Gemini, and again, it doesn't matter if it's retrograde or direct, he's basically opening up the heart to some of these more intimate connections. Now, can this be in a romantic relationship? Absolutely it can, but it's probably not going to be something superficial. So if you're, you know, just dating somebody, does this make it more meaningful? No, it doesn't. It's not going to help that. If you are set up to find your person anytime soon, and again, I can't know that, and nobody can know that without looking at your chart in particular, it's going to help you foster that connection. Again, this can be in any type of relationship. It doesn't have to just be a romantic sense. Okay. You could meet somebody and you're like, wow, we really get along. If that connection's already there, it's going to make that relationship flourish much faster and become more intense over time. And you're much more likely to make that person a member of your tribe, so to speak. All right, let's see what we got over here. Where are we at here? So the sun, despite what your favorite tropical astrologer has told you, the sun is not in Aquarius or anywhere else that they're telling you that it's in. It's just right here in the middle of Capricorn. Okay, go look in. Well, you can't tell unless you wake up early and you're looking right before the sun rises. You wouldn't be able to tell. And most astrologers have never looked at the sky. They couldn't identify a constellation, not even the easy ones like Taurus and Leo. They don't know because they have no connection to the sky. They're just looking at their programs all day and they're completely disconnected. So But you can go out and see these things if you want to. You're not going to be able to see Mercury because it's too bright close to the sun right now, but that is irrelevant for our purposes right now. So anyways, the sun, obviously, hopefully you know that the sun transits Capricorn every year right around the same time, right? So some of the associations, these seasonal associations, we can't really put a ton of stock into those because they're going to be different depending on where you live. Obviously, if it's wintertime in the northern hemisphere, it's going to be summertime in the southern hemisphere. The light cycles are going to be completely different. It's just a totally different universe. All right. So we don't put quite as much, or at least I don't put quite as much stock into any of those seasonal things. But I can tell you, Capricorn is completely different than anything you've ever heard as far as the tropical stuff goes. Okay. This was Tashmetu. She was a holy, benevolent, and nurturing and selfless, passionate goddess. Okay. They called her the divine doctress and the granter of requests. And she was just blessings and love and awesomeness. Okay. She does have connection to animals, particularly dogs. That comes from an association with her counterpart Bao. She was both Bao and Tashmetu were basically the wife of the figure over here in Sagittarius, whether we're looking at Pabelsang, the chief ancestor, or Ninurta, however you want to look at them. There is an association in here with loyalty, but basically what's going on, Capricorn is the most nurturing, passionate, and devoted of signs. Now, some people, yes, it's true, they devote themselves to their career. Okay, I'm not discounting that some Capricorns are very passionate about those things, but they are not cold and domineering. I mean, some of them probably are, but it has nothing to do with their sun being in Capricorn. The sun's coming in and it's just waking up this constellation and just pouring all of this passion and devotion into the individual born during this time. Now, everybody gets some of this right now because obviously the sun is in Capricorn, but all of those negative associations with Capricorn, which Capricorn really got it the worst, when the Greeks basically assigned randomly the planets to the various constellations and signs, they associated it with Saturn. Now, even in Greek times, Saturn was not negative. It did have some slightly, restrictive, I guess we could call them, associations, and this comes with the Roman Cronus too. Or excuse me, Saturn is the Roman version and Cronus is the Greek version. But basically, they were like Father Time, also Father Christmas. That's a different conversation. Won't bore you with that. But there was some sense of maybe mortality that was related to it. But that was as far as being serious, that was about it. Both of them Cronus ruled over the golden age of mankind. Nobody got sick. It was like the Garden of Eden. It was pretty awesome. So even they didn't have all those negative signs. But over time, especially during the medieval period, we really got a lot of negative Saturn traits that were thus assigned to Capricorn. But they have nothing to do with Capricorn. Saturn has nothing to do with Capricorn, at least in the sense that most people are familiar with. So there's none of that negativity in here. I'm telling you, it's all love and nurturing and devotion. This goatfish was actually one of the sacred animals of Enki, who was pictured over here. And we do have depictions of the goatfish by his feet. And she was one of the magical creatures that lived in the aquifer under the ground, the creative aquifer, from which all knowledge and wisdom flowed. The fish side of her is related to the fish of Pisces, as well as the water pouring out here from Aquarius. The goat side was associated with what real goats are associated. Now, I had dairy goats, so I can attest to this, but goats are very loving, very nurturing, much closer to dogs, I would say, than anybody realizes. They're not stubborn. They're not, yes, they like to headbutt and play and stuff, but they're wonderful little creatures. Okay. They're still eaten all over the world for their meat, but primarily more for like dairy. I guess I don't have stats on that. I take that back. I can't verify that, but I probably could. I could probably get you that information if you really care. But they're a source of love and nurturing and health. I do know that goat milk is the number one substitute for human milk when somebody is having issues nursing and whatnot. So, because I think camel milk is the closest to human milk, but a close second is going to be goat milk. So anyways, just love, nurturing, all coming out of this. Okay. So Capricorn, if you have Capricorn in your chart, if you have a strong Capricorn, you're a natural healer. A lot of times it is more the traditional medical type of healing, where you take like a more direct approach as opposed to just, coaching, counseling, doing something indirect. But while the sun is here, all love and devotion is benefited, okay? All energy that you pour into the people or the projects or anything that you care about is going to be benefited. When Mercury and the sun are close together, and as you can see, Mercury's pretty much, it's not quite like perfectly conjunct, but it's very close to a perfect conjunction with the sun. When they're separated, Mercury tends to become very intense, but when they get closer together, the sun softens that Mercurian energy. Now, originally, Mercury was very similar to the current meaning. It was very much about the mind and, listening, learning, and information, writing, all that stuff. But the thing that modern astrology doesn't know, apparently, is that originally Mercury was associated with a god of rain and water. Adad who was one of them anyways. Way back it was Ninurta, but that's a different conversation. So it's also a source of creativity and curiosity. So sometimes though, when they're separated, and they're not right now, but I just want to make this clear. When the sun and Mercury are very far apart, Mercury becomes much more powerful, much more cognitive. When they come together, Mercury becomes softer, more intuitive, and it's much more likely to let some of that creativity flow. Saturn still working its way out of Aquarius. Now, I know I just ranted for a few minutes about Saturn, but Saturn is basically, this was Ninurta. He was very similar to Sagittarius. I'm not going to go into all of it right now, but he speaks very much to society. It's a societal planet in just our ability to thrive here in the material world. His presence in Aquarius was very technical. And him going into Pisces, and I've talked about this in other videos. I couldn't tell you which ones offhand because I tend to rant. But I fully believe his moving into Pisces starts to shift the consciousness away from this over-reliance on technology that we've developed over like the last few decades. But it really, I think, has reached its peak over the last, or at least I hope it has, over the last, I'm just going to generally say like 5 years. We can probably go back and see how long it's really been sticking it to us here. Probably, anytime already, like mid Capricorn, we were probably already feeling it. So beginning of 2022, we're still going to get it throughout this year, but as we get into 2026, this is going to become much softer. And I suspect, based on everything that I've looked at thus far, it's really going to make it so we're basically cyborgs. I hate to break it to you. Like, technology is a part of us. It's part of our basically physiology. We all walk around with a constant connection to, the web, the field of information that's floating around out there, right in our pockets. So, but what's going to happen, I believe, is that the consciousness is going to start shifting back into something much more natural and fluid. We're still going to integrate technology into our lives, but I do think people are going to want more of a human connection. I think people are going to start getting back to nature. I do think, not to go like totally new age woo, but probably more of a deeper spiritual awakening over the next, many years. How long do we have here? Probably at least until we could see it all through Aries too. But I would say mostly through now through 2029, it's going to be a process. But if we go to just here, over the next, basically like right now, we do have Saturn interacting with the moon and Venus. I would call this a conjunction. A lot of people, they want their conjunctions very precise. I would say they're probably still feeling it over here. Venus's close proximity to Saturn softens it a little bit. How long has that been going on? Let's see, backing up. Oh, we really got affected by it here mid-January. That seemed to be a big shift right around the U.S. inauguration. And then obviously we're still getting it here. Now Venus is already going, hold on, let me see. Yes, yes, yes. Go back, hold on. And we do look at these on the other calls and stuff, so you don't have to just get everything out of this one. We're definitely around there. Yeah. Okay, she's going. Well, I'm not going to go too much into this right now, but suffice to say, Venus in Pisces, where were we at? 1, 2, 3. Yes, the first. Okay, there we go. Especially right now, actually. The moon conjunction with Venus is that literally right now? What time is it? I don't know what time it is where you're at. It's already kind of nighttime where I'm at, so this could be close to, what is it, like midday? Hold on, let me see. If you're on the East Coast, yeah, it's still pretty beautifully conjunct here. It actually probably looks awesome if you can see the sky, if you go out, if you can see Venus right by the crescent moon. Oh, so amazing. So amazing. Life-changing spiritual experience, or at least it is for, it should be for any astrologer, but anybody connected to the sky, I mean, this is an amazing placement, especially since you can probably see Saturn over there too. Okay. Where's it going with that? Okay. Venus is very soft in Pisces. Okay. Now this was Inanna, or Ishtar, as she was called in Babylon. She was the goddess of beauty, fertility, sexuality, and also war and victory. Okay. So she was either like all the bliss or all the rage, all the despair. I mean, it could go either way, but it was very, very emotionally intense. Okay. She has some really strong, more aggressive, assertive placements, but here in Pisces, she's much softer. And I think that this serves everybody, okay? Like the world at large. Now, if you're, you want to be like, well, what about this one plane crash or these 2 plane crashes or something? We can't talk about those things in relation to a giant, what I'm telling you right now relates to the entire planet Earth, okay? So even if something's going on in your town, your country, your city, that we have to look at the individual chart to determine what's going on and to make any specific predictions based on those things. Because I know if you're in the West, especially if you're in the US, you kind of tend to think that the world revolves around, what you see on the news. And that's not how this works. Okay. But generally speaking, for the world at large, this is a very soft placement of Venus. It's a very empathic placement. It's also a very psychic placement. So these 2 fish of Pisces were related to Nanshe, and she was basically the goddess of psychic abilities. But also, she was the matron goddess of widows, orphans, and the infirmed, and she just was nurturing and love. She also had connections to peace and prosperity, fertility, bounty, and just really all wonderful things in life. Okay. So Venus moving into here is basically softening this up. It's softening her up for sure. And just tuning us in on that higher emotional level, making it more likely that we experience love and bliss. If you are in some sort of karmic relationship, whether that is romantic or not, this can definitely intensify some of those emotional experiences, like those deeper spiritual or emotional experiences that you have with other people. And again, with Venus here close to the moon's just going to intensify this. It's just like taking a magnifying glass onto this beautiful, beautiful placement and making it that much better. Let me see here. Where are we at? Jupiter is still conjunct with Aldebaran, and this was the bull's jaw. This has been going on for a while. This is another beautiful placement that if your astrologer that you're talking to doesn't know what's going on here, can't go out and identify Jupiter in Aldebaran, run away, run in the opposite direction as fast as humanly possible. Hold on one second. Jupiter was in Leo, and he was basically the master of the universe, okay? He wasn't the creator, and he wasn't the earth, but he was pretty much everything in between. So he was just awesome at everything, okay? So some of that continues with Jupiter even now being associated with everything awesome. I think that's fair. I think that's a good assessment. I don't get the expansion thing. I don't know. I hear that all the time, like, oh, Jupiter expansion. Like, yeah, I don't even know what that means. So that's kind of a recent, I would say more of a new age association that's been applied to it. But anyways, Jupiter here in Taurus, especially conjunct with Aldebaran, this is a phenomenal creativity placement. Okay. If you do any type of creative work at all, oh my goodness, is this helping you out? Okay. And if it's not helping you out, that's a different issue. We would have to look at your chart to see what's going on and what's blocking you. But generally speaking, for most people who are in a creative profession or field, like this is beautiful. Okay. Taurus. So if you talk to a modern astrologer or even a classical astrologer or possibly Vedic, I don't even know anymore, guys. This is, oh, hey, oh, hi, Friar. Yeah, I didn't know I was gonna for sure do it today because I was coming down with a cold. And so I didn't like warn anyone, and I probably won't warn anybody in the future. I'm just gonna jump on these, so then there's not any pressure. So hi, Friar, it's nice to see you on there. If at any time you see me in the studio, you're welcome to pop in with me. But anyways, if you talk to like a modern astrologer or your pop culture astrologer, Taurus is basically a decadent cow that just grazes and eats and is lazy and stubborn and just doesn't want to do anything. They're just totally materialistic and stuck in, whatever it is that they're stuck in. Okay. That doesn't have anything to do with the meaning of Taurus. Taurus was a giant wild bull. He was called a wild bull, okay, or a wild oxen. They were massive, okay? We're talking about something that's like 7 feet tall at the shoulder and just like mountains of muscle, okay? Their horns were universally used throughout the Near East, into Africa too, as symbols of the divine and gods, okay? Whether they were male or female. This was just divine power. It had nothing to do with being decadent and lazy. That is a very late association with Venus. And again, those planetary rulers were assigned randomly, and I break all that down in my ancient astrology course if you care. I break it down sometimes in the videos, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Let me see here. So anyways, this is all like power and creativity. That's the other thing. People don't realize that this association, especially with the Hyades over here, where we now see these bull's horns, these were sacred to a dot. That planet we talked about with Mercury, the god associated with either letting loose the creative floodwaters or rains or potentially holding them back in drought. So it is a creative placement, all right? And it's especially creative right here in the Hyades. What else? We got that. Oh, and then we're back to Gemini. All right, I'm going to see if I can switch my screen without basically crashing my video card. Let's see if I can multitask. Yes, I know StreamYard is sharing the screen. Stop sharing the screen. There we go. All right, let's see what else we got over here. I'm going to close this one out. Hopefully don't need it again, because that would kind of suck. All right. And United States. Yes. What do I want? I want, no, I don't want the United States. I just want to, what do I want? You guys help me out. That's what I want, the transits. I want the bi-wheel. All right. So I'm going to pull up. No, I just want give me a transit report. What's today? Today is February something. We're just going to put February in here. And 01 Feb 2025. I was definitely not prepared today, guys, but I promise you I will get better. No, it doesn't matter. Just pick a place. Let's pick USA. Let's pick a city. 45th Street Mental Health. That sounds Palm Beach, Florida. That sounds great. Let's grab this chart. Doesn't really matter. All right, and then yes, animate, good. Natal, sure, doesn't matter. It's probably going to be so confusing if you go and look at this later. It's going to be very confusing. All right, let me get rid of this one. All right, this program that helps if I pull it up. Share the screen, good. I'm talking myself through it because otherwise it might not happen, just being honest with you. All right, so this program that I use is called Janus. I've tried them all, okay? Janus is probably not the prettiest, but it has all the functionality that you could ever want or need. And when I first got it, at the time, it was one of the only programs that had a sidereal option that wasn't, just like total, like all just Vedic charts. So that's why I use this one. Let me see here. What do we want to do? Let's do daily transits. Sure. And that's probably good. Sure. Calculate. Yes. What am I looking at? No, animate the outer chart. Okay, because it's pretty much now. Maybe I will pull up a different one. All right, I'm going to look at the US chart. That will make things easier. Normally what we would do when we're doing your standby US, good. All right. So the other stuff that we just did, that was the world at large, okay? But I am going to use the US's chart because it's just easier. And I think probably most of the people watching this, like the audience, is more so in the United States. If in the future, if you have somebody else, like some other place that you want me to look at instead of not just the United States, I'm happy to do that for you. Oh, well, thanks, Friar. He said, I was on my way out the door when I saw this. I have to run, but we'll catch the replay for sure. Okay. Yeah, the time I'll probably end up doing them is going to be sometime between probably 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern time in the United States, just in case anybody cares. All right. And they won't be every day, probably 3-ish times a week because I got other stuff going on and I'm a recovering workaholic and I'm not trying to get sucked back into that. All right. So let me see here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Can we see it on the screen? Yes, we can see it on the screen. All right. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I don't usually look at this when I do. I don't usually look at the United States' chart, to be honest with you, because I kind of don't care. It's good, I guess, for other, like some people. And I kicked myself out of StreamYard. So because I touched my chart. All right, hold on. Let me try this again. Let me close this and I'll bring it back up. Maybe I won't look at the United States. I don't know. I can't decide. Let's just look at this chart. All right, this is a chart for hold on, where are we? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Oh, can remove this. Present. This one. Let's just look at this one. All right, I'm not going to do the United States. I need to get my bearings first. I'm not capable of thinking that hard. So this is for the location. Not that it matters because we're doing some of the bigger placements, but daily transits, sure, and the moon, good. Yes, okay. Ekaterinburg, Russia. That's because I'm in Russia and that's just my standard. So that's where it comes up. So if you're wondering what's going on the right-hand side, that's exactly what's going on. All right. So right now we have, and I didn't really talk about this in the other chart because again, you can't really see these non-visible planets. All right. And these transits of some of the outer planets are so slow. It doesn't really matter so much where they're at in each constellation. It does matter the interactions that they have, but I still consider this now, whatever astrologer that you're talking to, that is going to be still on there. Yeah. They're going to have a different orb. They're going to have a different degree of which they consider a conjunction. I have a wide orb. Okay. Not visibly on my chart. You can't see it, but I consider these two relatively conjunct. And this has been going on for at least a few weeks, right? But Mercury conjunct with Pluto, which in my experience is actually very similar to the normal current meanings of Pluto. And that is basically, it is a very spiritual and karmic planet, okay? These two come together, and we get that nice left brain, right brain union. It increases psychic perception and abilities. And hold on one second. Don't touch it. Don't crash. Don't crash. Okay. It generally starts to awaken some deeper, either creative mental stimulus or also like spiritual insight. It can go either way. And again, your individual chart's gonna make this a little bit, it'll be more individualized and specific to you. But here in Capricorn, at the same time, it's taking that energy and those thoughts and feelings, and it's basically applying those to the things that you are passionate about. We do have a close proximity to the sun in Ceres. So I got to explain something to you real quick, if you don't mind. The current meanings of the outer planets and asteroids are nonsense, okay? And the reason for this is because when an astronomer identifies an outer planet or, asteroid or whatever, if they give it a mythological name, whatever it got named, that's what astrologers use as the basis for this planet, okay? So, for example, if somebody discovers a giant, we find a planet X, okay, and they name it Mark Zuckerberg, they're going to associate this planet with social media, tech bros, oligarchs, whatever. But it doesn't mean anything because they didn't track the planetary body. They're just basing it on its namesake, okay? So any associations based primarily on the namesake have to be dismissed. So the information that I give you when it comes to Ceres and Vesta, which are the two largest asteroids in the asteroid field, or the outer planets, is based on research, okay? And I'm not saying research into what somebody else said. I mean, I did test those things out, and they either proved true or they didn't. But by actually tracking them with probably at this point thousands of charts, if I'm being quite honest with you. I'm super dorky, really into data, and if you don't think that I can get into that stuff, you have misjudged me greatly. So that is, I just want you to know, when I tell you things about these outer planets, it's not necessarily, you're not going to be able to go find that somewhere unless you do the research yourself and look into it, or you take my ancient astrology course, which you can find on my website. So with that said, we do have this very close proximity, as I said, between the sun and Ceres. Ceres, in my experience, is a tribal planet. It's an environmental planet. I call it a planet. It was a minor planet until the 60s. But it is, it speaks to the people that we're spending time with, whether that's at work or even like the town, the village, the cultures, the tribe, the marketplace, wherever that we're spending our time. This close proximity here just kind of wakes the tribe up. It can make some people much more social. Again, you got to look at your individual chart, but it does put more importance into that environment in the community. It is a good time, generally speaking. And again, it's not perfectly conjunct, but it's pretty close in the sky. It does make it a good time to go out more, socialize, meet some people, network, do all that fun stuff. We do have, I talked a little bit about the moon's close proximity to Saturn before. And to Venus. It's just waking these up as it goes through. But the really interesting one right now is this pretty precise, you don't get really more precise of a conjunction than this. I mean, you can, but not by very much. With Venus and Neptune. Neptune, if I had to summarize what it is, I would say that it is it's very similar to Enki, which we see in Aquarius. Okay, so this is all Aquarian energy. It's all about communication, technology, innovation, the arts, the sciences, teaching, and Venus's placement here softens a lot of those things. It allows us to connect on a deeper emotional level to these people that we're reaching through. If you have a career in one of these fields, right? Or if you're just communicating, it is very much a communication and expression planet. And so we're able to just have that deeper empathic connection with people. Obviously today in particular, and probably tomorrow while the moon is close to these, it's going to be increased. So I guess it was a good time for me to start doing these live streams, obviously, it's going to take a little while for them to get some traction and for me to find my stride, but I promise you I will get there. I am committed and I am ready to roll. We do have this opposition. And again, it's not a perfect opposition. You know, they're just generally in different portions of the sky. I've already explained I don't get locked into specific dates so much, but generally the opposition between Mars and Pluto. Now, I can't speak to what anybody else says, okay? But what I can tell you from my experience with Mars being that vulnerability and sensitivity, sometimes physical, sometimes emotional, sometimes psychic and energetic, being in opposition to Pluto, which is not a bad thing. Opposition is just different type of alignment. Every month the sun is opposite the moon, and that's what gives us the full moon. Okay, so anybody who says oppositions are blocking or once again run in the opposite direction because they don't know what they're talking about. But when we have this type of alignment, it pulls these two things together. Clairsentience goes off the chart. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, clairsentience is psychic sensation. It's psychic touching. Okay, so if you're already set up to be clairsentient, this is really going to intensify all of this. Bear in mind, this happens every few years, okay? This isn't like a once-in-a-lifetime placement. It's not earth-shattering per se. I will also tell you, though, it can relate to karmic relationships. Pluto, with Mars being an intimacy planet and Pluto being a planet of the spiritual side, karmic relationships, karmic energy. I say karmic, I don't mean that inherently good or bad, just old past life stuff. It can bring back old karmic relationships and intensify those. So if somebody's coming back from, you know, the past, whether that's this lifetime or a previous lifetime, you may find that it is very, very intense. It may also not be like a permanent thing. It could just be, you know, somebody's coming back to spur your spiritual development or your journey a little bit forward. So, you know, it is intense. It is important. I don't want to downplay it at all. But it's, I see it as a good thing. Now, even though once again, they are not perfectly in opposition by quite a bit, it's close enough in the sky that we do have a little bit of an opposition between Mercury and Mars. These two, when they get together, become very cognitive and sometimes make us much too reliant on our minds as opposed to our intuition. I do think right now we have a lot of things softening that, and we're not what I talked about earlier with the sun and Mercury not being separated. So the sun's kind of muting some of that Mercurian energy. I do think that that's going to solve some of our issues, if we could even call them issues. So hopefully we're not relying too much on the mind. Those are really the biggest ones that I see right now. Now, these are obviously going to shift slightly over the next few days. We're going to pop back in here. Let me see here. Hold on. Let me close this out via my regular screen. I suspect as long as the cold does not get worse, which I don't think it's going to, I'm doing great. And I'm not worried about jinxing myself because I don't play that game. But let's see, what day do I anticipate I will be back on here for the next live stream? Obviously, Wednesdays will be here. I will never be here on a Sunday. That is our meditation support group from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. And we definitely do that. So I'm not going to be here for that. But do I have a calendar? Am I looking at my calendar? I think so. What do we have here? That was today. I think, I don't know, you guys. I don't know because I can't tell you just yet. We were supposed to go to the water park for my daughter's birthday on Monday. So I had that blocked off. I may be here Monday. That'll give us a few days for the, I'll for sure be here next Saturday. But I'll try for Monday. We'll be here on Wednesday, every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Blowing people's minds, right? With all of our awesome knowledge and wisdom. We had a lot of people get really upset about our debate with Ola a few weeks ago. And none of them had any constructive criticism, no evidence, no anything. They really just had some personal insults for specifically me and Nikki, but mostly Nikki. That's not very nice because Nikki was sharing like her deeper personal experiences, and I guess, you know, people weren't into that, or at least Ola's devotees were not into that. So if you guys get a chance, go and watch it, and if you don't mind, show Nikki some love because in the comments, because, you know, why not? Why not give her some love? All right, I'm gonna go. What did I miss? Anything? Thanks again, Fryer, for popping in here. Just sending you guys lots of love out there. I hope you have an awesome day, and just take very good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Salima.